All right, for this drawing assignment, you're going to be working in a non-objective art style, and here's an example of what that can look like. Remember that we're just trying to use basic lines and shapes. So to begin with, you're going to create your composition, and here is an example of what that could look like. So you need to use at least 10 different lines and shapes. They should overlap to create that sense of depth. So I like that these shapes are on top of this shape is on top of this shape, and you can see how these look like they're stacked in different layers. Remember that I'm providing you tracers to help if that's helpful. So I like the layering here. Remember that you're using oil pastels to do the coloring. So when you create your drawings, your lines should really try to be about 2 finger distances thick. One would be the least amount of space because you have to be able to fit an oil pastel in that space to do the coloring. So when you design your rough draft ideas, make sure your lines are far enough away from each other that you can actually color that in. So I want you to try at least 2 different compositions for your assignment, and then what you'll be doing is figuring out your color scheme. So a part of this assignment was to learn how to blend colors and how to create value, but then also to demonstrate some color theory. So you have these notes in your sketchbook, and the idea is that you're picking one of these categories to represent within your design. So in this example, we see yellow, we see green, we see blues. When I look at the color wheel, I see yellows, I see greens, I see blues, and those are located next to each other. That color scheme is called analogous. Analogous means you're using at least 3 colors next to each other on the color wheel, and these colors look good together because they share similar colors because they're next to each other. Then we are working on black paper for this assignment, and the shapes will kind of have this black outline to them so they're easier to see. So the next step is to begin to practice with oil pastels creating your different blends. So the worksheet is worth 20 points for you to complete. And on the left-hand side, this is for you to demonstrate how to mix colors together where one color blends into another color. So there are 5 different places I want you to try that. And I really want you to consider colors that you like to see, but also colors that work within our color theory chart. So your oil pastels are all put in an egg carton at your table, and they're kind of separated by color family, so it's easy to find the colors that you're looking for. So in general, colors next to each other on the color wheel are going to blend to make pleasing looking colors. So for example, I could blend the yellow and the green, or I could try the yellow and the dark green and see what that's going to make. But I wouldn't want to necessarily blend the green with the red, because when you look at your color wheel, the green is opposite the red. Those are too far away from each other, and the chart's showing you down here, green and red are going to end up making brown. And brown might not be the color that you're trying to go for. So I would stick to colors that are in either warm side or cool side or analogous colors when you do your mixing. So I am going to do a yellow and a green combination right here. So let's see if I can get this camera to zoom in maybe. There we go. Okay. So the box 1 is telling you this is where you're going to put your first color, and I do want you to fill the entire box. It's a small box. Oh, also, oil pastels can be dirty. So this yellow is covered in lots of other colors. So to clean off an oil pastel, you're just going to use a paper towel, a dry paper towel, to just smear the old color off that doesn't need to be on there. And I will have paper towels at your tables for you to use, so I just roll it in the paper towel. Oil pastels are naturally kind of messy and dirty, so if you don't like the fact that your fingers are going to get dirty, you could hold your oil pastel in paper towel as well. We will take the time to wash hands at the end of class. In the meantime, just use the paper towels at your table. Okay, so this is pretty good to go now. All right, so if I'm going to start with my first color, I want to press hard enough to get like that thick buildup. Oil pastels are meant to be pressed with heavy hand pressure. And then I'm going to put my second color on the opposite end. And then I'm going to start to mix the two in between. So I'm going to put some color on the right side, some on the left side, and now I'm going to do the overlap. So I can see what happens when I blend these two colors, because a part of this requirement is that as you fill in your design elements, you're adding blending within each space. So you can see how the yellow and the blue blended to make a green right here. You can see how they blended yellow and blue here. So that is what I want you to sample 5 different times with 5 different color options on the left-hand side. But another way to affect colors is to create a monochromatic version. So from your notes, monochromatic is when you add one color plus black, white, or gray. When I add white, I get a tint, it lightens it. Black makes a shade, it darkens it. And if your color's too intense, to take away the intensity, we add gray to tone it down. So the right-hand side, you're going to pick one color, and you're going to fill that one color across all 4 boxes. And you shouldn't really see paper showing through. So if I still see paper showing through, I can also use my finger to smear and smudge this to get it solid. Now I'm going to start to do the layering. So again, I might have to clean off my dirty chalk. So a tint is when I add white. So I'm going to color white pastel over it. Hue means it's pure color. There's nothing that's going to happen here. A tone is when I add gray into it. And you have to press hard enough to actually see the color change happening, but you don't want to push so hard that you don't see the base color anymore. Now I could always go backwards and add more color on top. Black is when I add, or shade is when I add black to darken it. So that actually is a blue. Okay, this is black. So with black, I want to use soft hand pressure because you can see how dark that became. If I press too hard like I just did, I'm going to lose all my color. So then I could always go back over the top to bring back another layer of color. So when you finish this, you should see a distinct difference between tint, hue, tone, and shade. And that is also what you can choose to include in your assignment. So you can see how this dark blue is fading into a tone of blue, and then it's transitioning into pure white. So this is same thing, dark blue, light blue, white. So these areas, dark green, light green, white. So it is okay to just use one of the white, the black, or the gray on your final assignment, but I do want you to practice on this worksheet what's going to happen when you create the different color mixing options.